What are we seeing in this ad? We're not just seeing a cool car doing cool things. I mean, we are, but that's not the point here. Everyone has, whenever they think about a category that they're looking to make a purchase in, you've got a list of things that you want, a kind of wish list of what you want going into that offer. You've got that wish list in your head. There are two versions, two categories of that wish list. There are the things that you know you want and that you will say out loud that you want. Then there are the things that you won't say out loud. Right? You might say, for example, I want a car that is safe. I want a car that gets good mileage. It's electric. I want to make sure I'm not going to run out of battery so it has a long range. Right? I want heated seats. I want air conditioning. I want it to connect to my phone. I want Spotify to be on the player. Right? Those are the things we will say explicitly. But we also have the list of things that we're never going to say out loud, either because we're embarrassed to say it out loud or because we don't think it's available. Right? Show of fingers if you don't love parallel parking. You've always got some, right? It's not everybody's favorite thing. Now, okay, so a lot of people don't like parallel parking. Show of fingers if you would be comfortable walking into a car dealership and saying, you know, I don't like parallel parking. Do you have a car that can do that for me? Right? That's not something people are usually going to be comfortable asking for because it's a little embarrassing. It's saying, I don't know how to do this. You're like, you know, should a car be able to do that? That feels weird. But you still got this list of things that in a perfect world would do. And creating an obvious offer is about never having to say these 6 words to anything on that list. I'm sorry, we can't do that. We love to buy. Buying has this feeling of I came, I saw, I conquered. This is what I wanted and I got it. That's amazing. Right? Buying is about saying, this is what I want, this is my wish list. And I say, yes, absolutely, we can do that. Awesome, here you go. Being sold is when people say, I'm sorry, we can't do that, but let me convince you why what I have is also good. Now, you might never say the wish list out loud. Do you guys want to hear the story of how Starbucks lost my business? Show of fingers. I used to spend tons of money going to Starbucks. So I would go to Starbucks every morning. I would go for a walk in the morning. I'm an early riser, so I'd go for a walk. I get to Starbucks as they open at 6 a.m. I'd get a cup of tea, an Earl Grey tea with coconut milk, and I would go for my morning walk. Now, I don't drink Earl Grey tea, and I don't like coconut milk. So why was I getting an Earl Grey tea with coconut milk? Right? My beverage of preference is a rooibos tea, an African red tea, which has the thick consistency of a black tea, but no caffeine, because I try very hard not to consume caffeine. And I like it with macadamia milk for the health reasons, for the texture, for the flavor, etc. But Starbucks doesn't have either of those things. And I'm never going to ask them. I'm not going to go to the counter and say, can I have a rooibos tea with macadamia milk? Because I know they don't have it. But every morning I would go for my walk, and I'd be like, I don't really want this, but it's convenient. It works in my schedule. Until one day, and I did this for months upon months, until one day I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just get some to-go cups and make myself a cup of tea at home, and I'll leave the house with my tea when I go. And I stopped getting tea at Starbucks. My monthly spend at Starbucks dropped from many, many hundreds of dollars to a few dollars. Because of the words that they were implicitly, but never actually saying in so many words. I'm sorry, we can't do that. Here's another great example. Amazon. Amazon doesn't work hard to get better at selling. Amazon works hard to get better at making it easy for people to buy. Right? There's a great line from an interview that someone did with Jeff Bezos years ago. They were asking him, what do you think is the next big thing in whatever category, right? What are you gearing up for the future? And what he answered was, you know, I don't spend so much time thinking about what's the next big thing. I actually usually spend most of my time thinking about what is never going to change, right? I don't see any scenario where 10 years from now, someone comes to me and says, you know, Jeff, I love Amazon. I just wish the prices were higher. Never going to happen. People are always going to want lower prices. No one's ever going to come to me and say, Jeff, I love Amazon. I just wish it took longer for stuff to get to me. never going to happen. I love Amazon. I just wish there wasn't so much selection. Right? Those are the things that I can trust will never change. People will want a large selection. They want it at the lowest price it can be, and they want it as fast as possible. And so that is what we focus a lot of our energy on. And that's really a huge core part of Amazon's strategy. The lowest price, the biggest selection, the fastest delivery. In other words, making it easy for people to buy. Right? When someone is looking for whatever it is, I'm looking for a toothbrush. Right? I go on Amazon and I look. Can I find exactly a toothbrush that I want? Yes. Can I get it for a cheap, fair price? Yes. Can I have it in 2 hours, depending on where you live? Yes. Absolutely. That is how you create an obvious offer. You think about what is everything on the list that people have of what they want, and how can you engineer your offer so that you never have to say, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Because that's when people think, well, I don't know if I want to do this. Here's another example. Uber. Uber is a fantastic example of this. Think about it. We've become so accustomed to Uber, and mind you, we don't use it as much because of current circumstances, but we've become so accustomed to Uber that we forget how fantastical it is. And if you want to be reminded, try explaining Uber to your grandmother. So, Nana, here's how this is going to work, okay? We're going to press a button on the phone, and the car is going to come. We're not going to call anyone. The car is just going to come. They're going to know. You can see it right there on the phone. When the car gets here, you're going to get in. And no, it's not a taxi, but you can trust it. It's fine. You can see a picture of the guy right here. And they're going to take you to where you're going. You don't have to tell them. They're just going to know where you're going. No, you don't have to pay them. It's just going to happen by itself. Yeah, it's totally safe. It's a little weird. It's hard to get your head around, right? But what Uber did phenomenally well is say, what is everything that people want? What is the invisible wish list that people have about this transportation experience? How can we say yes to everything on that list? Right? I'm tired of calling up the cab company. They say the cab's going to be there in 2 minutes. It's like, yeah, when is the cab going to be here? We can see it right there on the app. I don't want them to be gouging me on a trip that I don't know which way it's taking, and I don't know if they're taking me in the right way. Great, you can see the fastest path on the map. I don't want to have to negotiate and haggle over a tip. No problem. It's all through the app. You don't have to deal with cash. You can decide later after the fact. I want them to be nice to me and courteous. Well, we have a rating system. That helps with that a lot. Right? Everything about that experience is built to make it an easy yes. Everything you ask, Uber says yes. Now, there's a really interesting kind of second step to that story, which is that now we've added another item to our list. Can you promise that the car I'm going to get into isn't going to be a vector for COVID infection? And they can't say yes to that. And people riding in Ubers has declined dramatically. Right? And a lot of people will never ask that explicitly because what can the guy driving the car do about that? Right? How can we control what's going on with the virus? Is that a fair thing to ask Uber? Doesn't matter. If we have that concern, we're not getting in the car. So that wish list is not a static thing. It's evolving. What is on people's invisible wish list? The things they'll say in so many words, the thing they will never say in so many words. You want to be able to say yes to as many of those things as you can. Now, you might say to me, Dannny, I can't always do what people want. Some of the things that they're asking for are not realistic. They're not reasonable, right? You don't have Amazon's revenue. You don't have Uber's investors. You don't have Tesla's engineering talent, right? And your customer expectations could be totally unrealistic. But let's suspend disbelief for a moment, right? Let's just play along. Let's do this as an exercise. What if you could wave a magic wand? You could just make anything happen. What would your customers want? I want to explore this as an exercise with your table. I want you to share with your table, if you could wave a magic wand, what would your customers want you to do? What would your students want you to create for them by way of transformation? And don't just stay at the surface. Really dig in. What would the outcome be? What would the process be? How long would it take? What would the transaction look like? The more detail, the better. right, great. Now remember these 6 words. 7 if you count, or I guess 8 if you count the contractions. I'm sorry, we can't do that. We just made a list. What are the things that people, if you could wave a magic wand, this is what they want. This is their invisible wish list. What are the things on that list that you're saying, I'm sorry, we can't do that? And what are some places where you might be able to change the experience so that you don't have to say those words? I'll give you 3 more minutes. I want you to brainstorm some ideas. Where can you change it so that you don't have to say, either whether they're saying it in so many words or they're just thinking it, I'm sorry, we can't do that. I'm sorry, we can't do that. The more you can eliminate the need to say those 6 words, the more your offer becomes obvious for your customers. The obvious thing that they just want to do. Now, you're going to have a list, right? You've got a list already of what are the things you could do to eliminate things to say those things. Those ideas are hypotheses. Here's what I think will happen if I do it. You need to iterate and test. The more you test, the more you see what works, the better the offer will become. That's how we designed the ACES program. It is designed from the ground up to be the obvious offer. I started by asking myself, what are all the things someone would want in a training like this, in a program like this? All right, let's build this all in. Let's never have to say, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Will ACES give me access to all the expertise I need? Yes. Will ACES coach me and support me and guide me? Yes. Will ACES hold me accountable for all the things I need to do and be accountable for supporting my success? Yes. Will I have access to services so the things that need to get done in my business will get done for me without me having to worry about it? Yes. And it's an iterative process, right? You build something, and then you measure how it works, and you learn, and then you improve it. You keep repeating that cycle. This is what we teach in programs like the Course Business Masterclass. Now, there's an important question that I want to address, which is, okay, Dannny, so I've made my list of here are 20 things that I could do in my business so that I don't have to say those words. I'm sorry, we can't do that. But I can't do all 20 of those things right away. They're all going to take time and energy. How do I prioritize? I'm going to tell you how you organize that list. I'm going to create a little grid where you're looking at impact going up and cost to the side. Those are your kind of, that's your base. We're going to divide this into 4 quadrants. We're going to start with the stuff that is high impact, low cost. Those are the things that you want to do immediately, right? Do the things that are high impact, low cost. Then you've got the things that are low impact, low cost. You don't want to make a big initiative out of it, but you always want to be doing some of those things. Because those are the things where if you're not always doing a little bit of that, eventually you fall behind, right? They add up. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. So immediately do the stuff that's high impact, low cost. Eventually do the stuff that's low impact, low cost. A little bit every day, every month, every week, every year. Then there's the stuff that's low impact, high cost. Never do those things. Right? Those are things that you just don't want to do. There's no point doing those. They're high cost, low impact, don't bother. Then you've got the quadrant that people neglect, entrepreneurs neglect. And that's the stuff that is high impact but high cost. That's what research and development is all about. That's where you make the big bets. You say, it's going to be a lot of work for me to figure this out and make it work. But if I can figure this out and make it work, boy, am I going to have a competitive advantage. You think the self-driving features were easy for Tesla to develop? No. That was high impact, high cost, right? It took a lot of cost, a lot of time, a lot of money. But once they got it working, wow, high impact. Because where else can you go for a car that's going to drive itself? Huge advantage. Think about what are the big bets? What are the things that, maybe it'll take me a year or 2 or 3, but when I figure this out, boy, am I going to have an advantage. And this is a challenging quadrant because you can't look to the rest of the industry. You can't copy best practices. You have to be your own thinker. This is the real opportunity for innovation and advantage. Not looking around and saying, what's the best that other people are doing? It's good to do those things, but they're not going to be in the R&D quadrant. But looking around and saying, what are things that nobody else is doing? But if I could figure it out, then I'm going to be able to bring something to my customers that nobody else can. So everything we've talked about so far is about the offer, how to create the obvious offer. And that's the first dimension of alignment. The more your offer is obvious to your customer, the more what you're selling is aligned with not what you can convince them to, not what you can sell to them, right? But the more it's aligned with what they want to buy, the easier it gets. That's the first dimension. The second dimension is the resonant identity. And I chose that word carefully. It's not the charismatic identity. It's not the impressive identity. It's the resonant identity. What does resonant mean? Well, there's this word in Indian languages, in Indian Sanskrit, namaste, loosely translated, because it can be translated a few different ways. Loosely translated, the light in me honors the light in you. That's what a resonant identity is. It's about being the leader that people want to follow. And there are 2 sides to that resonant leadership. And those 2 sides are a little bit in dynamic tension, meaning if you go too far in one direction, it can break the other side, right? So you've got to have both of them in a kind of equilibrium. So the first side is relatability. People resonate with people who are like them to some degree, not in every way, but in the way that matters. In other words, I like you because you're weird, just like me. And that can be about sharing challenges or struggles or interests or quirks. It's about being seen. It's about feeling connected. Show of fingers, if in the last 3 days you have seen something or heard something or connected with someone that made you feel, wow, I am not alone. There are people here just like me. That's relatability. I want you now to take some time and think about and share in your table, in what ways are you weird just like your customers are? My friend Jason Gaynor calls them uncommon commonalities. What do you have in common with your customers, your audience, your market, but you don't have them in common with most of the world? Let's take a few minutes and think about that. In what way are you weird just like your customers? That's the first ingredient of a resonant identity. It's relatability. I like you because you're weird, just like me. And that's a necessary, but not sufficient part of the equation, because if you are just weird, just like me, then we're going to have a lot of fun hanging out. But that doesn't mean I'm going to want to follow you or learn from you. So in addition to relatability, we also need the quality of aspiration. In other words, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. You have to represent, embody what they want to achieve, the way they want to show up, the way they want to be in the world. So we've talked about in what ways are you just like your customers. Now I want you to share at your table in what ways are you who they want to become. What have you done? What have you accomplished? What are you capable of? In what ways do you show up? How are you who they want to be when they grow up? When I grow up, I want to be just like you. Now, there's a difficult balance there to strike, right? You're just like me, and you're who I want to be when I grow up. If you go too far in the direction of aspiration, you're not relatable anymore. I don't feel the connection. If you are too relatable, then you're who I want to hang out with, not who I want to become. But finding that balance, finding that dynamic tension, is the hallmark of leaders who are resonant to their audiences. You know, whether it's political leaders. I love this photo because I don't think you can find a photo of two people, neither of whom want to be in the photo so strongly. But these are also two great examples of a resonant identity to their core constituents, to their core followers. They're both this perfect combination to the people who are dramatically, deeply engaged with them of you are just like me and you are who I want to be when I grow up, which depending on your perspective is inspiring or chilling. They both speak so clearly and powerfully to their core constituents, right? It's true in politics, it's true in other arenas too. This is Lady Gaga. She does a tremendous job of doing this in the area of leadership of youth and the LGBTQ community. This is Tim Ferriss. He does a great job of this in the business world. You're just like me, and you're who I want to be when I grow up. And in my own small way, I do it too. I'm not a great leader to everyone, but I am to you, presumably, or you would be here with us for 3 days. There is something that you see yourself in when you look at a smart but slightly awkward, shy, and introverted Canadian who was and is terrified to get on stage, and is a little embarrassed to have a picture of me on the screen, but I do it anyway because the work matters more than my comfort. And you aspire to what I have built with my business, not just the numbers, but the culture, the character of the work, which again is why you're here. Now, this is the only me that I could be, right? I couldn't be someone else. I couldn't be a resonant leader to other people. But to you, it works, right? The only option is to be you. You can't pretend to be someone that you're not. You can be yourself. You shouldn't hide it. You should lean into it, right? I could pretend I was super confident. I could pretend to try to do the Tony Robbins thing. Everyone who's excited, say I. I can't do that. It just wouldn't work. It's not me. I can be a little bit self-deprecating, and I can tell you interesting stories and teach you things that you don't already know. That I can do. So be the leader to your tribe. You are just like them, and you are who they want to be when they grow up. And you know that's true. But they don't. They don't know that yet. You need to communicate that to them. Right? It can be 100% true. You are the perfect leader for your tribe, but they don't know you exist. You need to communicate who you are and what you're about. You need to help you find that out. You can do that in a lot of ways. You can do it in the way you talk. Right? Show of fingers if you've ever heard Gary Vaynerchuk speak, right? In a video, in a talk, in a speech. Okay. Show of fingers if it is abundantly clear who is his audience and who is not by hearing him speak, right? Abundantly clear. Whether that's you or not doesn't matter, right? But he is very clear about this is who I am for. So you can do it by the way you speak. You can do it by sharing ideas and sentiments that reflect your belief. That's about words. That's about sources, about who you quote, right? Not everyone will put children's books up on their stage and up on the screen, but I will because it's part of who I am and what I believe in. You can do it in sharing your values. I want to show you a commercial that is one of my favorite commercials. We're going to run a little video right now.
Dedication. Loyalty. Getting better at this, yeah. Next week, buddy. Friendship. The choices we make reveal the true nature of our character.
Yeah.
That commercial about beer? No. That commercial was about values. This is the kind of person that we want to be. If you want to be that same way, maybe we have something in common. So you can communicate your values. You can also talk about why you do what you do. I spent a lot of time over the last 3 days talking about how the world is better because of the future. That's me telling you why I do what I do. And if you're still here, it's because that's why you do what you do too. I want to share with you one of my favorite examples of this. This is one of my favorite ads I've ever seen from a company that I never thought I would be appreciative of in any way. But look at this commercial.
Hello, my name is Gwyneth, and I'll be a professor today. And I will be talking about the brain. Hello, I'm your veterinarian today. Nope, I'm Dr. Duckworth. See?
Okay, Doctor.
Oh, here, let me see. Good morning, everyone. I'm your new coach. My name is Maddie. Nice to meet you. I had the most fantastic day in the office. You'll never believe what happened. We got that new business I wanted. You ever seen a fly?
Have you seen what?
Fly?
No.
My cat can fly.
Okay.
The dog's brain can't think as much as the human's brain. There's no high school for the dog. This is Peter, Triceratops. Peter is 1 year old. The T-Rex, Sally, is 1,002,252 years old. He's up like a unicorn. Higher, higher. I've been to New York, Transylvania, Pennsylvania. We can think and do lots of stuff with our brain. Now, does anybody know how big the brain is? Anybody? So it is me. Me? Very good.
That's great. I love it.
Isn't that awesome? I never in a million years thought I would be showing a Barbie commercial to anyone ever. But as a father of a daughter, what better message could I connect with? You know, you can show that resonance by allying yourself with issues that your customers care about. You do it by taking a stand. I want to share another example with you. This is an interesting example. We'll talk about why in a moment. Let's run another video.
Who's my pretty girl? Sammy, sweetie, don't get your dress dirty.
Sam, honey, you don't want to mess with that. Let's put him down.
Samantha, this project has gotten out of control.
Whoa, hey, careful with that. Why don't you hand that to your brother?
Our words can have a huge impact. Isn't it time we told her she's pretty brilliant too? Encourage her love of science and technology and inspire her to change the world.
Here's what's interesting about this video. I saw it, and I found it resonant, again, because I have a daughter. And I found it resonant, even though I know that it is actually very misleading. Think about this for a moment. 66% of fourth grade girls say they like math and science, but only 18% of all college engineering majors are female. Right? What percentage of kids in elementary school like gym versus what percentage of kids go on to study phys ed? Right? It's kind of a misleading stat. And while it's true that only 18% of all college engineering majors are female, at the time that this video was made, 44% of math degrees were earned by women, 48% of chemistry degrees, and 61% of biology degrees. If anything, these days in most of the sciences, it's harder for a boy than it is for a girl. And I know that that is true. And yet I still found it compelling because it's not about the facts. Although you don't want to mislead people, it's about the core values. It's about the things that you fundamentally believe in. People want to connect with a company that holds the same values as them. And of course, holding them isn't enough. You have to model those values, the way we've tried to do at this event. Right? The 7 statements on our manifesto, they're not just cool things that we read. Hopefully you can read through this manifesto and one by one say, yeah, this value permeated my experience at Teach Your Gift Live. And if it didn't, if you were to read the manifesto and be like, yeah, this is interesting, but this has nothing to do with what I experienced in the last 3 days, then it wouldn't resonate at all. Now, of course, a manifesto can be written. It can also be something you say, something you present. Here's one of the best examples I've seen of a really compelling manifesto. We're going to run another video.
We believe in going our own way, no matter which way the rest of the world is going. We believe in bucking the system that's built to smash individuals like bugs on a windshield. Some of us believe in the man upstairs. All of us believe in sticking it to the man down here. We believe in the sky, and we don't believe in the sunroof. We believe in freedom. We believe in dust, tumbleweeds, buffalo, mountain ranges, and riding off into the sunset. We believe in saddlebags, and we believe that cowboys had it right. We believe in refusing to knuckle under to anyone. We believe in wearing black because it doesn't show any dirt or weakness. We believe the world is going soft, and we're not going along with it. We believe in motorcycle rallies that last a week. We believe in roadside attractions, gas station hot dogs, and finding out what's over the next hill. We believe in rumbling engines, pistons the size of garbage cans, fuel tanks designed in 1936, freight train-sized headlights, chrome and custom paint. We believe in flames and skulls. We believe life is what you make it, and we make it one hell of a ride. We believe the machine you sit on can tell the world exactly where you stand. We don't care what everyone else believes. Amen.
So we talked about Gary Vaynerchuk and Tim Ferriss and Lady Gaga and Harley Davidson and Guinness and Barbie. And the reason we've covered that kind of breadth of ground is that I wanted to give you kind of a menu of different ways of articulating and communicating what makes you like your audience, different from everyone else, and what makes you what they want to aspire to become. And those two things together make up your resonant identity. So we've talked about the obvious offer, we've talked about the resonant identity. The obvious offer is about you selling what they want to buy. The resonant identity is about you being who they want to buy from. And the more those things are true, the easier it gets. Now, there's a third card, the intuitive path, making it so that every step on their journey, the customer journey, is the step that they naturally want to take next. Also known as funnel. Now, what makes a funnel, what makes a path intuitive versus not? When it feels forced. Show of fingers if this looks a little bit familiar. If you're like, I think I've seen these two paths somewhere, but I can't place where. So we've got some people who recognize this, or at least think they recognize this. So show of fingers if you remember watching the cartoon version of Beauty and the Beast. Okay, so there's this scene where Maurice, Belle's father, is going out to the fair with his giant contraption on the back of his wagon, and he gets to a crossroads. He says, I think I'm lost. Which way should I go? And the horse, Philippe, looks one way and the other. And of course, one path is very nice and pleasant and inviting. The other one looks very dark and ominous and scary. And the horse says, no, I think we should go. The horse wants to go in the direction of the nice one path. That was the intuitive path. The absent-minded driver says, no, I'm going to force us to go this way. And of course, we know how that story wound up in the Beast's dungeon. The intuitive path is the path that you naturally want to take. But your goal is to make it so that the path that you're laying out for your customers looks like the one on the left. But often it looks like the one on the right. Hi, nice to meet you. I want to tell you about what I do. I know you don't have any interest, but let me give you my 30-second aggressive elevator pitch. That's not intuitive. They want to walk away. Right? Or how about if I try to trap you in this conversation? Let me tell you why you should sign up for something right now, even though you've given me no indication whatsoever that you have any interest in what I'm talking about. And there are, of course, many ways where this can show up. Now, why do we do that, right? Why do we do that? Whether it's in person, whether it's in conversation, whether it is in digital marketing or anything else. Why do we do that? Why do we lay out an unintuitive path? I mean, it's not like that's what we want to do. Nobody wants to make it less comfortable or harder for your customers to buy. And yet, that's what many of us do much of the time. And we do it because we have very different perspectives. The way it looks to you is very different from the way it looks to them. And that's how it is in a lot of areas of life. I particularly like this example. Right? What does leadership look like? You sitting at the top of the pyramid. What does leadership feel like? You in a mess of chaos all the time. Right? Things look different from different vantage points. Now, ideally, what you're selling just naturally looks attractive from their vantage point. And that's what an obvious offer is all about. But often it doesn't because they don't know something that they need to know. And that's where marketing comes into the picture. And specifically, copywriting. Not just the words you say, but the message that you convey, the narrative that you construct that people will go through. Copywriting really isn't so much about the individual words as it is about the story that you tell, how people find their way over to your world. Now, all good copy follows a very simple framework. So I want to teach you this framework for compelling copy right now. There are 5 steps in this framework. First, you meet them where they are. Then you explore how they see the problem. Then you share the deeper insight. Then you explain the solution. Then you give them a call to action. Now, let's go into these one by one. We're going to start by meeting people where they are. We're going to start with recognizing that where they are, there's either a pain right? Something is not working the way they want. There's a pain that they're experiencing. They have something that they don't want, or they have a desire. There's something that they want but don't have, right? Nobody takes any action if there isn't something that they have but don't want, or want but don't have, one or the other, right? There's either a pain they want to get rid of, or a desire that they want to achieve, one or the other. So what you do at this first step is you describe it. You don't editorialize, you don't analyze, you just describe it clearly, viscerally, so that they can hear it and their ears can perk up. They can say, yes, that's exactly what I'm feeling. Or they can say, yes, that's exactly what I want. Right? You guys, has anyone heard of the red Honda effect? Show of fingers if you've heard of the red Honda effect. Right? The red Honda effect is the idea that you are out there shopping for a car and you're thinking about buying a red Honda, and all of a sudden you notice red Hondas everywhere on the road.
Oh,
Are you magically, law of attraction, magnetically attracting red Hondas in a way that's going to disrupt traffic to you from all over the world? No, that's not what's happening. But because it's on your mind, your brain is hyper attentive to those red Hondas. All of a sudden you start noticing them. Right? After a very, very long, protracted negotiation with Boomi, we finally bought a Tesla last year. And after bringing the Tesla home, I started noticing there are a lot of Teslas in my neighborhood. I had no idea, but there seemed to be a lot of them because all of a sudden you notice, right? It's on your mind. And so if you speak to, just describing the pain that they're feeling or the desire that they're experiencing, they will perk up. They will notice, this is about something that I care about. That's meeting them where they are. No editorializing, just describing. Second step, and this is the hardest step for most entrepreneurs, is to talk about how they see the problem. Now, why is this hard for expert entrepreneurs? Because you know something that they don't, right? Show fingers if you know something your customers don't know, right? Of course you do, otherwise you wouldn't be a teacher. You know something that they don't know. And show of fingers if you agree with this statement. If they knew what I know, they wouldn't have this problem, right? That's the whole point. I want to teach them what I know so that they don't have this problem. But that means that by definition, they cannot understand the problem well enough to understand how to solve it, right, before you intervene. If they did, they would have already solved it. And there's this funny thing about human psychology, which is that we really struggle with cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is basically the ability to hold two opposing ideas in your mind at the same time. It's very hard to do it. And I'll give you an example of two opposing ideas. One idea is, I have this problem that really bugs me. It's a really big problem for me. That's one idea. The other problem is, I could easily solve this problem. We can't hold these two ideas in our mind at the same time, because if we do, the logical conclusion is that I must be a freaking idiot. If I have this serious problem and I could easily solve it, but I'm not, then there's something wrong with that picture. And so what that means, this is something you're going to want to write down. Anyone who has a persistent problem also has a rationalization for why it has to be this way. They have a rationalization for why it's not their fault. And so when you come to them and say, that pain you're feeling, I can get rid of it. That pleasure you want, I can deliver it. They're thinking, well, no, you can't, because this is not a fixable problem. If it was, I would have fixed it, right? Because I have a problem, so I also have a story as to why this is true. And so what you need to do is not tell them that they're wrong. That's not where you start the conversation. What you need to start by doing is articulating their story, which you know is not true, because you know the problem is solvable. You need to articulate their story for why the problem is not solvable. Show of fingers if you're following this. Does that make sense? I know this is like a hard thing for entrepreneurs to get their head around. They believe the problem's not solvable, and rather than telling them why it is solvable, the first thing you need to do is articulate what they believe about why it isn't solvable. So they don't think, here's another person, they don't know what they're talking about, they don't understand my reality. When you articulate why the problem is not solvable from their perspective, they say, wow, this person understands. So let's do a little exercise. Why do they believe? Why do your customers, your students, why do they believe they don't have the outcome they want? Who is the villain in their story? Who is responsible? Is it the media? Is it society? Is it their genes? Is it the circumstances around them? It can be anything, a person, an industry, a set of expectations, but they have a reason for why this is the case. I want to give you a few minutes, share with your table, who is the villain? To whom is responsibility externalized as to why they have this problem? All right, so knowing how they see the problem, now you're ready to share the deeper insight, right? You can say, this is how they see it, you articulate that. That's where you can now say, here's what you're missing. Okay, now that you found the villain, you can show them how to defeat it. Now, here's the really important nuance. This is not about providing a solution. This is about changing a worldview. Right? You thought the world looked like this. Let me show you another layer to the world. It's about helping them understand how a solution could be possible. Here's how this situation actually works. You're opening a door and bringing them into a world of possibility. And this is really powerful because once you do that, you can't unring that bell. You come back to this challenge of, I have this problem. Oh, I can do something about it. It's a big must. So I want to give you a few minutes. I want you to really think about this. How is their worldview different from one in which the problem can be solved? What do you need to show them about how the world, how the situation works? And if you can do this without mentioning your product or your service or your expertise, all the better. This is about how they see the opportunity. Let me give you a few minutes. I want you to share with your table. How is their worldview different from the worldview in which your worldview, in which the problem can be solved? All right. So knowing the gap in how they see the world, you can take them on a journey from their worldview to yours. That's where you go from sharing the deeper insights to explaining the solution. Here is how the problem can be solved. This is what it would take. And you're not necessarily describing your offer, you're describing something like your offer, right? Something that includes the components of your offer, the secret ingredient of the offer, the unique mechanism of the offer. Now, here's the best way that I can share to get your head around. There are a lot of definitions out there for marketing, right? People talk about agitating demand and rubbing salt in the wound and pouring a light on where the challenge is. Here's the best definition of marketing that I've found. This comes from Rich Sheffrin. Marketing is an accelerated version of the experiences that led you to believe in your offer. Right? Because there was a time at which you did not believe in your offer, right? You weren't born believing in your offer. And then things happened in your life, you had experiences that led you to believe in your offer. So all marketing is meant to be is a compressed version of that story. I want you to think for a few minutes. I want you to share with your table, what were those moments? What were the key pivotal moments that led you to believe in what you're doing? That you could maybe share with your students as part of your marketing. Let's take a few minutes for that. You create for people an accelerated version of the experience that led you to believe in your offer. And that's how they're going to probably go from how they see the problem, sharing that deeper insight, to seeing that there can be a solution. And then you give them a call to action. You invite them to take the next step. And if you do go step by step, it really is intuitive. And you can apply this model, this framework, to any format you want. You can go into a video, a sales letter, a webinar, a conversation. So we've talked about 3 dimensions on which you want to align with your customer. The obvious offer, the resonant identity, and the intuitive path. And these 3 come together to create effortless business growth. Right? You need all 3. If you have just an obvious offer and a resonant identity, you'll make easy sales, but you're not going to have leads on any consistent basis. If you have an obvious offer and an intuitive path, you're going to have a smooth funnel, but no connection with the audience. It's a race to the bottom with prices. If you have a resonant identity and an intuitive path, you can have raving fans, but no money. If you have all 3, that's effortless business growth. And this is the model that I applied in our business over the last year that's been responsible for our growth. That's what makes it feel effortless. Now, I know that we covered a lot of ground in in the last hour. And I could go on about this for quite a long time. So show of fingers if you'd like more information about this model and how to apply it. Would that be useful?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So let's make our way over to our teacher gift box and find the package with the morning dove on it. And open it up and see what is inside. What you should be looking at is a copy of my new book that's coming out in January, February. It's coming out soon, whenever it's coming out, and it's called Effortless. Now, many of you, most of you should have a copy of the book. Some of you, particularly if you're international, we couldn't get the hard copies in time to ship you the box in time for you to get them. So you've got a card to get the audiobook for free. You can just click through and sign up and get it. This is the culmination of all of the growth that we've experienced over the past year. This is the blueprint for how to do it. And I'm sharing this with you because I want you to apply it. And I want you to see the results. Now, I also want to ask for a small favor. Can I ask for a small favor? Show fingers, if that's okay. So I would love for you to read this. It's short, it's easy to read. If you read it and you like it, let's trouble you for a review on Amazon. Is that a fair ask?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. All right, so I will follow up with an email reminding you of that when it is on Amazon, and I am grateful for that. I really hope you enjoyed the book. You know, this really is the framework that I want you to apply, and it's the framework, by the way, that you will apply through the ACES program to grow your business. And it's also the framework that we use to keep making what we offer better. Right? You wouldn't be at an event like Teacher Gift Live if you didn't want to create amazing online courses. People who join the ACES program want to create amazing online courses. So what can I do to make the ACES program even more of an obvious offer? Because here's the thing. You know, you're going to work on you've joined ACES, you'll work on your runway, you're going to work on your pilot. It's going to be time to launch your full course. And building a full course is hard. You've got to film videos, you've got to have these carefully prepared scripts, you've got to edit the videos, you've got to add the animations, you've got to set it all up. There's a lot that goes into it. And so I want to share with you the latest thing that we are adding to this program to make it that much more of an obvious offer for course creators. We thought, what if we could take the challenge out of all that, right? Because what do you need to do to create a great online course? Once you've got your script, you've got to find or build a video recording studio. You need a camera, you need a green screen, you need lights, you need a teleprompter, you need the whole 9 yards. You've got to film all that video. And you've got to get that video to an expert videographer, a video editor, who can take it and clean it up and add whatever animations and effects need to be added and process it. Then you need to get those videos back, you need to put them all into a membership site. And so I told you that with every sprint, we're looking at how can we make the ACES program better. So what we are doing this spring is we're announcing this for everyone who's joined the ACES program, for all of our veteran students. Nobody knows about this yet. This is a brand new announcement. Something that we've added to the ACES program is what I call the Course Business Accelerator Done For You Service Kit. So if we can pan the camera, I'm going to slide this onto the screen. Or not, I don't know if you can see this. I have to move it back on the screen so you can see it. So what we have here is a giant kit of all the video equipment that you will need to record your course videos. So we've got the lighting, we've got the green screen, we've got the teleprompter, we've got the noise dampening pads, we've got the tripods, we've got the camera. And this is not like bargain basement equipment. This is high-end stuff. There's $3,000 and change worth of equipment in this box. And here's how this is going to work. You say, I am ready to film my courses. We will ship this box to you with instructions on how to set it up. You will record your videos onto the hard drive that's included here. You'll package it back up, send it back to us. That hard drive is going to go to Richard, the guy that you can't see right now because he's on the other side of the camera, right there. And he's going to get all those videos, and he's going to edit them. He's going to process them. He's going to send them to us, and then we're going to load it onto an LMS that is taken care of and set up for you. And that is all built into the experience. That doesn't come at an extra cost. That is just part of what we are doing to make the program even more valuable. That's one of the done-for-you services that are there. To do this yourself, to get the equipment, to hire the services,
Wow.
$5, $10, more $1,000. We're always looking for what can we do to throw more in to make it an effortless choice. Now, on that note, I still have a lot more I want to share with you. We're going to take a break. If you know that ACES is the next step for you, go ahead and sign up. Take some time, have lunch on your own, get some fresh air, look at a tree, come back for some networking, and then at 1 o'clock, we're coming back for the Teacherpreneur Success Triangle. Thank you.